Welcome back to GAA Fan TV. My name is Aaron. I'm delighted to be joined here by the lads from the Saffron Voice podcast here to preview all this weekend's action that's happening in the All-Ireland Senior Football Championship. I suppose, Luke, will come to you first. How's things for yourself?
Yeah, all good, Aaron. It's good weather. It's nice to be off for Easter, so it is. And, the weather's nice as well, so we're counting down the days now to the match against Cavan now. I'm really looking forward to getting stuck in and seeing what the lads can produce, I suppose.
And Ryan, I was saying about yourselves there. I'm sure you'll both be all aboard giving Cavan an open and warm welcome this weekend down to Corrigan Park.
Well, that's the idea. Just echo everything Luke said. Can't wait to Saturday now to throw on, see the team news.
Yeah, 100%. How have you found the championship so far in general, and obviously with it being in April as well? I mean, it's such a unusual time in many ways to have a championship, and usually, obviously, we're so used to having it in, obviously starting at the end of May, June. So, what's it like for yourselves having a championship game at home in April?
Yeah, I find it very weird on Sunday night just sitting down with a bit of an Easter egg watching the Sunday game, like the Sunday game tune coming on. It was very, very weird now, Aaron. And yeah, I suppose you're used to maybe playing All Ireland finals in September. Well, I was anyway, like watching them growing up and that. So yeah, it's very, very weird.
Yeah, I mean it's absolutely bizarre. Whenever the GAA released it, with the new calendar as such, and it's just been absolutely bizarre. Why fix a thing that's not broken as such? The whole summer really with Championship football was basically what you dreamed of as a Wayne, like, and as a child and growing up and watching the best footballers in the country playing football through summer, like it's just the dream. But now it's just ruined it, like.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem a little unusual, all right. And I think obviously this year there's no World Cup in the summer. It's obviously happening in the winter this year. But I think when there is going to be a World Cup coming back and you've got All Ireland finals kind of sprinkled in the middle there, I think like having it in September, it was a unique time period. But I suppose we'll crack on with the games this weekend. And I suppose we'll start with the Antrim and Cavan game this weekend, since you're both proud Antrim men. I mean, some people are obviously looking towards Cavan, but I think a lot of people are kind of saying, there could be a potential upset on the cards here, and maybe he might be able to pull off a bit of a surprise here.
Well, I think us being Antrim boys, we'd like to think that Antrim would maybe take a scalp off Cavan, but Cavan will be lying in the long grass, waiting for this game, and after everything's happened, I suppose with the whole Corrigan Park or nowhere type thing, Cavan will be a bit grieved by that, and they may want to put a mark in the match, I suppose, and saying, well, we can play anywhere, that sort of way. But look, Antrim have quality players. We saw that throughout the league, and Antrim was supposed throughout the league were maybe sort of wrote off and sort of maybe looked down as such. A lot of boys wrote us off and throughout the league campaign, but we've made a mark on the league and such, and the young lads coming through there and some brilliant footballers in Antrim. So look, everything's on the up, I suppose, and the build up around the county now for this Cavan game has just been surreal, I suppose, and for me anyway, I'd like to think we could put up the Cavan, maybe beat them by a couple of points on Saturday.
What about yourself, Ryan? I mean, what's your thinking obviously coming into this game? I mean, Antrim, I suppose a bit of a, as Luke was saying there, I mean, a lot of people, well, I mean, maybe not yourselves, but I know a lot of people from outside the county maybe were looking at Antrim to potentially get relegated from Division 3. So, I mean, he's definitely surprised a few neutrals anyway along the way this year.
Yeah, I think if this game was maybe after round 5 or 6, I think I'd been more confident, but yeah, I was talking to John, John McMahon from Cavan, and my only worry is I seen Enda saying it as well, that the size of Cavan maybe and the physicality, and maybe we could get bottled up in contact. I think the first 10 minutes of that match would be massive, because if they mark their presence all over us with their height and strength, and yeah, I'd be worried. Like I am worried going into this game on Saturday, to be honest.
And recently, there's been a lot of maybe boys stepping down from the county, maybe a bit of a fallout, wee bit of unrest in the camp as such. There's a couple of boys away to America and stuff, and they got there. So look, experienced players as well. Our goalkeeper's away to America now, and our fullback stepped down from the county now. So look, there's two experienced fellas leaving the panel now, and we now turn our heads to Chris Kerr's come back into the county now. And he'll be probably on the bench, I suppose, and Nick Byrne will get a chance maybe to start, not much. Be interesting to see how the full back line will sort of fare out, because Ricky Johnson, he was surreal in the league campaign and making his presence felt in the full back position, but now he's left, so he's going to fill that gap, and that's what really worries me as well. With the forwards that Cavan have, they could maybe run us to shreds, but we'll see. Anyway, we'll see.
Yeah, and what was, I suppose, both your opinions really on the entire Corrigan Park or nowhere saga? I know maybe you might be tired of speaking about it at this stage, but obviously we'll also have you on and might as well get your opinion on it. I mean, it definitely, I suppose we're seeing this a lot now. Obviously, you're seeing this situation down in Cork at the minute with Parky Rin or nowhere. You've seen it in Kildare there a couple of years ago with Newbridge or nowhere, and obviously, this situation in Corrigan Park as well. Like, what was your sort of opinion on it? The fact that Cavan obviously wanted to move this game outside of Corrigan Park. I mean, what was your kind of take on it?
Well, for me, I think it was just nice for Antrim to actually stand up for themselves for once and actually say, we're not moving here, lads. And yeah, I think hopefully that'll bring the intensity on Saturday, and we can get maybe 3,500 staffs out with their yellow shirts on, roar the boys on, because it's been a bit of a disgrace. Like, we haven't had a home match since 2013. So yeah, that's my opinion on it.
Yeah, look, for me, as Ryan said there, 2013 with since our last home match in the Ulster Championship, it's hard done by from Antrim, and as Ryan said there, it's a good thing that Antrim stood up for themselves and saying, I think maybe that could be an end factor too, because he'd be a bit grieved by that too. I think maybe because he'd be seeing Antrim without a home game, and maybe he's making his presence felt there as well. Running through the county board as such. Let's have it in Corrigan Park. Why would we have it anywhere else? Just to please everyone else. For in a higher capacity stadium. What's the big deal? Why can't you come up to Corrigan Park?
Exactly. And if it was moved to Breffni Park, aren't sure what would there be? 5K at it, like maybe 6, 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree as well. Like, I think I'm not too sure really what they were doing. Like, we've seen games obviously being played in Corrigan Park, like hurling games throughout the year, big games. Obviously like last year you had Antrim versus Clare. I think you had Antrim and Dublin in Corrigan Park this year as well. So I think home advantage should be home advantage at the end of the day. What type of game plan do you think Enda McGinley is going to have for this one, or what way do you think he'll approach it? Obviously for Cavan, as we know, like the likes of Grode McKernan and Paddy Lynch has obviously been in brilliant form this year. So obviously haven't seen Antrim close up this year. How do you think he'll go about trying to win this game?
I don't think they'll maybe try and change too much about it. Have you seen in the league on last year's championship match against Armagh, the possession? I think they want to try and keep possession of the ball and try and work a few scores, try and work into the full forward line and such. We all know what Cavan can bring to the table. We know that they're big physical lads and such, and maybe they want to try and play football around them. Maybe try and work a few things. But why should Antrim change their game plan throughout the league for just this one match?
My worry is we could hold on to possession, but there might not be much penetration through that blue wall, because Cavan are, like you said, are big physical lads, and we'll need to Mark Jordan and Dermot McAleese and fast boys to break the line, and Rory McCann to be accurate from frees.
Yeah, 100%. And as well, Antrim can't be conceding too many frees, because we know what Raymond Gallagher can do within the 45-metre line as well. So look, if the discipline's there and the fight's there, but you can't be getting too carried away. Antrim can concede so many frees as well, and if the discipline,
what we're like, them lazy frees.
Oh, the lazy hands. It's really an eyesore really for any team. But if we can keep the discipline and if we can keep the possession of the ball and just trying the penetration, as Ryan said, with Mark Jordan, Dermot McAleese, then I think we could really offer something then.
Yeah, what have been your thoughts on Cavan as well? I suppose Ryan will come to you first on that. I mean, obviously getting past Division 4 in the end, but they have been a little inconsistent. Like you seen them last year, obviously a little bit of inconsistency in Division 3. Got beat by Fermanagh, lost obviously to Wicklow as well. So I mean, does that give you hope a little bit when you see some of their inconsistencies a little bit, like lost to Tipperary in the league this year as well, that maybe you might be able to catch them cold if they're not exactly, I suppose, on their game?
Yeah, that's it too. There's Calvin from this year been very patchy, and then there's Calvin from 2 years ago. He won Ulster, like, so I don't know. I don't think anybody can tell what sort of team Calvin are going to be on Saturday, because, like Luke said, they could be waiting in the long grass for Antrim. And then I was talking to Declan Kirby, who's very intelligent when it comes to Gaelic football. Like, he was saying that Calvin basically didn't put nothing into the league. They're eyeing up this Antrim match, and they actually believe they can win Ulster this year. So, yeah, I think, like I said, if this game was maybe round 5 of the league, I think we would have been more confident than what we are. But them last 2 games, like, just the lack of penetration in that second half against Westmeath and Louth. We got bullied that day away to Louth as well. We were actually at the match, and that's what my massive worry is, because Cavan are monsters of men, like.
Who do you think will do the most damage in the game from an Antrim point of view?
Well, I think it depends on the way you look at it as well, because, we all know what Mick McCann and Kevin Small can do around the middle of the field, but then, we all know what Gerald McKern can bring to the middle of the field too as well. So, Mick McCann, he's just a Rolls Royce man. He's been there for years now, and Enda McGinley's getting the best out of him as such. I suppose if you look at the half back line from Antrim as Dermot McAleese and Mark Jordan, I think Mark Jordan he only came into this panel there midway through the league, and he took it by storm. With them bursting runs down the wings and just causing chaos for many defences. Like I was at the Wicklow game, and there was Wicklow lads behind us who didn't even hear tell Mark Jordan, and were saying that man is quick, and he's a real danger for any team going forward.
The 2 Murrays as well have been phenomenal for Antrim in that league. Yeah,
and Pat Shivers, he can deliver too. He's a big, strong lad, and if you get him in the full forward line, he can cause a lot of problems too. He's like a star figure who Kieran Donaghy likes. So if he can get possession of the ball and lay it off to one of our nippy forwards, and we could really have for something, as I said before. So so there's a lot of boys to look out for as well.
I think what Antrim have to do is they need to keep the crowd on side as well, Aaron, because if Cavan say got a goal in the first 5-10 minutes, that would let a massive air out of the balloon. They have to, even if it's like 6-6 at half time and it's tight, like the crowd are going to live every moment of that game as long as it is tight. But if Cavan start pegging on scores and Raymond Gallagher comes up and hits 45 over, and you know what I mean? Yeah,
it could really get ugly then from that. If the crowd are on side, as Ryan said, they need to keep them up. You need to be nipping top for the first 50, 60 minutes, and then see what can get from the last 10.
Yeah, I suppose maybe even like a bit like the game 2 years ago. I know it was it wasn't a great spectacle by any stretch of the imagination, but I think people forget that Cavan actually beat Antrim en route to winning that Ulster title as well in 2020 in the quarterfinals. Like, but even that game, I remember watching that and thinking, geez, Antrim had a lot of chances that day. Like, Cavan weren't really at the races at all, and on another day, Antrim could have felt like they might have won that game.
Yeah, and I was just looking at the Antrim team. There's been a massive turnover of players, and I suppose that's a massive issue, Antrim, the overturn of players, because Paddy Gallagher, Niall Delargy, and boys like that, they were all playing 2 years ago and they're not there. So Enda needs to just keep this squad of players together as much as he can. I know it's going to be hard now because boys are starting to go away to America and stuff, but yeah.
What are we? What's our prediction then? Match Attacks Kid there says, I think it will be Antrim 112. Cavan 13 points. So would you be in line with that there, or what are you thinking?
Look, I think, you know, if a 1 point game, if a 1-0, I'll take it 1-0 right now. But, you know,
Stop the count.
that's obviously stop the count exactly. But you know, predictions wise, realistically, if Antrim can win the game by a point, I'll be very, very happy. You know, do I see Antrim getting a goal? Maybe not. Do I see Cavan getting a goal? Maybe. You know, it's just one of those games. It's really hard to predict because
Are you related to Michael Owen?
No, but you know, yeah, I'm going to go for maybe an Antrim 1 or 2 victory. I think 1 point or 2.
What about yourself? What about yourself, Ryan?
I think that'll be. My heart says Antrim, but my head says Cavan. So I can't back against Antrim, like, so I'll just say Antrim by 2 points.
Fair.
Yeah, I've backed Antrim for this guy. I just have a sneaky feeling he's gonna sneak this one. I'm not too sure why. Maybe Cavan's inconsistencies and the whole Corrigan Park situation as well. I just think maybe you might have an extra 5 to 10%. I suppose we'll have a look at Donegal and Armagh. I mean, this is obviously a huge game as well. There was a lot of suspensions obviously leading into this game, and then no suspensions anymore. Obviously, the likes of Rian O'Neill, Stephen Campbell all clear to play. The Donegal suspensions still stand as well. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, Armagh haven't beaten Donegal in the championship since 2006, but I mean, Donegal have probably been on the slide the last couple of years. Armagh, on the other hand side, obviously had a very good league campaign. What do you reckon?
I think, you know, on the subject of them suspensions, I think it's just absolutely wrong. You know, the man getting sent off should be final. Why should you take it to? Why do you get appealed for? If the man's sent off, let it be that. I think it's, you know, if you take any appeals to the council, whatever it is, you get appealed by. You think it's just they're going to overturn them no matter what it is. That's my opinion. You know, just tell a heap of lies and they'll get it overturned. That's what I think. But anyway, we'll talk about the football rather than the suspensions. Look, it's nice to see all these boys playing football. You want to see the best players on playing football. You want to see them players playing football, as I said. And look, it's a big game, as you said. Donegal's on the decline and Armagh's on the incline, I think. And with the likes of Rian O'Neill, Rory Grugan for Armagh, I think Armagh could really tip into the post, I think, in this game. But as you know, it's in Ballybuffet, and Ballybuffet is a very, very tough place to go and play football. And Donegal could shoot the lights out anyway. So at home, I don't know what way this could go, because as we've seen in the league campaign in this game, or Donegal or Armagh in the league, like it was very nip and tuck as well. So it's going to be a very big game, and I'm looking forward to seeing it too.
Yeah, and Ryan, I suppose I was going to ask about them suspensions as well, because I suppose as Luke was saying there, I think it was a tweet from Eamon McGee who even said that as well. He was even saying if you just basically talk up your arse, like you can very much get off the suspensions. And supposedly Rian O'Neill's hearing only lasted a couple of seconds. So I mean, you know, I don't really know like what they must be saying in a couple of seconds to get out to get out of it. Like, so what's your, I suppose, take on it? Like for me, like I feel like it should be, if it's clear and obvious mistake, then maybe there should be a hearing. But as Luke said there, like it is interesting how they're making these decisions, I suppose.
Yeah, I heard a few people saying it's a bit like kangaroo court. So it is, like the people that are actually there, like half the boys are sleeping and they don't know nothing about football, like so. Anyway, back to the football, I would probably go against with Luke says. I think Armagh, looking at Armagh's team, I don't think there's many Armagh boys that would actually get on Donegal's team. I'm looking at the goalkeeper situation, and they've chopped and changed that a bit as well. And I'm just looking at Armagh's defence as well. I'm not really sure they have the defenders to cope with Donegal's forwards on Sunday. And I think Donegal could actually win this game quite comfortably on Sunday.
That's big.
Well, out of interest, like if you were to get past Cavan, would there be any one of these two you'd rather play, or is that just I suppose wishful thinking maybe?
I'd probably say Donegal, to be honest, because Armagh's forwards are just absolutely surreal, and they're there are really good forwards. Armagh have, but I'd rather play Donegal. We played them in the McKenna Cup this year, and we did all right against them. Like, and on any given day, we probably could beat Donegal. Like, so I would take Donegal. Who would you go for, Ryan?
I'd rather have Armagh all day long. I just think Donegal, Ryan McHugh, Paddy McBrearty, Michael Murphy, Michael Langan, Kieran Thompson, Hugh McFadden, they're just such a better team than Armagh. And that's my own opinion. Like, you look at Armagh's half forward line potentially on Sunday, it could be Jamar Hall, Tiernan Kelly. You mean like
Rory Grogan as well?
Well, Rory Grogan, yeah, but I think Ryan McHugh could maybe do a job on him. So, yeah, and Armagh's defence is nothing.
Have Donegal nearly gone under the radar a bit, do you think? Because them and Armagh actually finished on the same amount of points in Division 1. And I feel like nearly because Donegal are Donegal and they've been sort of that team who's been, thereabouts in Ulster the last couple of years, and Armagh this up-and-coming team. And I think maybe a lot of people want to see a new team on the block for a change. Obviously, it's a long time since Armagh were in an Ulster final. So have Donegal kind of gone under the radar a little bit? Like, a lot of people are looking at Armagh and thinking this is going to be their time to shine. But I suppose, as Ryan was saying there, like Donegal at home, Illy Buffet, Michael Murphy, Paddy McBrearty is probably one of the best forwards in the country on his day. Like, so are they going a little bit under the radar, do you think?
I wouldn't say under the radar, and I just think they targeted their home games. They were 3 from 3 at home and 4 from 4, and I think they were happy to stay up. But Armagh, they definitely did get the jump on teams. We sat here in the first Alliance League preview, and I went for Armagh to beat Dublin. I knew they'd beat Dublin because I knew that they'd be ahead of Dublin when it comes to fitness and stuff like that. But I'm telling you what, see if the league had went on for another couple of weeks, I think Armagh would have been in trouble regarding relegation. They won one of their last 5 games. So, yeah, I think Armagh's massively overrated, in my opinion.
You think so, yeah? Really?
They haven't done anything since 08.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting point of view, all right. I suppose, like they haven't reached an Ulster final since 2008. Every other county in Ulster, I believe, has reached an Ulster final since then. And they do have they seem to have been bringing through a lot of these young players for the last 3-4 years, but just haven't quite been able to get that big win in the championship. They've obviously done well in the league this year, and they obviously took Dublin scalp obviously on the opening day, beat Tyrone as well. But I mean, like, is the pressure more on Armagh here, do you think, with the fact that they haven't reached an Ulster final since 2008, and you'd look at it and think if they win this, they should beat Antrim or Cavan, although it might be a tough game, I'm sure it will, but they would be favoured to reach an Ulster final then. So is there a bit more, and given the fact McGeeney's been there, I suppose, a long time now as well?
Look, the pressure is definitely on Armagh to get the Ulster final. As you said, there's been 2008 since they got to an Ulster final, and we know that the past, with them teams back then for Armagh were just unreal, with the calibre of players they had. Kieran McGeeney, he would know all about it, and he's been there for a long time now. And suppose he'll want to get the Ulster final. Since he's an Armagh, native, he'd want to get the Ulster final with Armagh, because since 2008 since the last Ulster final, it's unheard of, really, considering with all the good clubs they have down Armagh too. Like, so, the pressure is definitely on Armagh. So. Yeah, so that that's against
massive pressure on Declan Bonner too. But
yeah, I suppose that's true as well. That's true.
I just wonder, is Armagh their ceiling now? Because he took them up from 3 to 2 to 1, but I can't see them being all-iron contenders.
Could you make the case though at the same time that maybe they got that win over Dublin, they got that win over Tyrone? They were pretty much safe really after 3-4. They obviously beat Kildare. What was that, match day 5? I think it was. I mean, they pretty much knew from there they were safe, and they didn't have to win the last 2 games. I think it was a Kerry they played in the second last game. So I think they kind of knew from very much well then that they were sort of home and hosed really in the league, and they maybe could put all their emphasis on the championship then.
I'm not too sure about that. I think they would have wanted to make that league final. I just think it was a case of they ran out a bit of steam and other teams come up. And actually, you seen the like of Tyrone the last couple of games, they were starting to maybe peak, and then I don't know.
I think Armagh, you would have wanted to take the league by storm really, and they did that in the first couple of game weeks, and then that's whenever all other teams started coming in the league. That's whenever they started getting ready for the league as such. There maybe teams were coming in a wee bit undercooked, as I say. But an Armagh did fade away until they beat Kildare as such. So suppose McGinney would have wanted to get up to a league final, and they were pipped to the post. So
but that league was so tight though.
It was
so tight.
Yeah, it was.
You just seen the way it finished. Like
Yeah,
there was like 6 teams could have went down and 6 teams could have finished in the league final.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, Kildare could have finished in the league final if results went their way, and they ended up getting relegated. So it does go to show how close it was. What are we going for then in terms of a prediction, really, I suppose? I mean, Luke, you sounded like you were going for Armagh. Ryan, you sounded like you were leaning towards Donegal. What do you reckon?
I'll go for Armagh as well. I just had to say Armagh will go.
Yeah, I did say Donegal at the start. I suppose I'll stick with Donegal, but obviously with them suspensions, I mean, obviously being lifted could make a huge difference. And it's such an intriguing game because, I was only thinking there as well, like obviously a lot of pressure on McGeaney, but I think if Declan Bonner's Donegal were to lose at home to Armagh and then go into the qualifiers, I mean, there'd be all sorts of pressure on Declan Bonner as well, I suppose, especially after obviously last year being beaten in the semi-finals versus Tyrone and of course being beaten by Cavan the year previously as well.
Absolutely. I think he's just doing enough to survive at the minute. I think if they'd have went down, I think he would have been under a lot of trouble. He would have been in a lot of trouble if he'd have lost this game on Sunday. Like, I think, because they're definitely regressing, as Matthew always says as well. Matthew actually tipped them to go down. Did you tip them to go down?
I think I tipped them to go down as well. Just in that middle of the league campaign, it wasn't looking good for them, and then they just turned around at the end. So
you know what they remind me of? They remind me of United under Solskjaer. Like they've all these top players, but they've no tactics. It's like vibes.
Yeah,
that's what Donegal are. Yeah. Michael Murphy will do something ridiculous Sunday.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think they're as bad as Man United now are, to be fair, but you know what I mean. I think they're way too low on the spectrum there. But to be fair to back up what you say, like I suppose they do seem to play quite a running game at times, and you don't really know what way they're playing. Like they seem to mix a running game, mix a passing game as well, and Michael Murphy, he seems to drift all around the pitch. He doesn't seem to play in a natural position. So, I mean, there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of structure, I suppose, about their play, which kind of caused a bit of chaos at the same time for teams who played them. But you've seen even with Dublin, like we've been absolutely terrible this year, and we looked fairly comfortable against them.
Absolutely, but they seem to have a lot of homesickness whenever they went away in the league, because I seen that game against Kerry, like, and they were absolutely rancid. And then at Dublin, I thought Dublin would beat them at Croke Park. They were just hopeless away, and like I said before, I think they just banked on their home games because they probably looked at their home games and says they're 3 winnable games, Kildare, Tyrone and Armagh, 6 points, that'll do us.
I suppose we'll crack on with Mayo and Galway then. I mean, this is a real humdinger. I mean, just in the 90th championship meeting between these two in the Connacht Senior, in the All-Ireland Senior Football Championship in total. I mean, I don't know where to start with this game, to be honest. I mean, obviously Mayo will be coming in as slight favourites, obviously given their, well, I suppose it's, maybe more than slight favourites, obviously given their Division 1 campaign. But when you look at how good Galway's attack is and some of Mayo's vulnerabilities defensively, especially as we've seen in that league final, I suppose Luke will come to you first. I mean, although Mayo will be the team that most people will go with, Galway might be able to cause a surprise here.
Yeah, 100%. Galway's league campaign was just unreal, and as well as Mayo's was unreal too. You get in the league final, but I think on the Division 2 final against Roscommon, I think Galway was looking too much at Mayo, I think. You know, it was a very, very good game at that. You know, it was a very high scoring game. And, you know, it was an unreal spectacle for Gaelic footballers and college football as well at that. You know, two college teams in that final. I think Galway were looking too much at that Mayo game, and they will be looking at it very heavily now. I mean, Galway will want to, they will want to get one over in Mayo, you know, because Mayo have been walking away with Connacht for the past couple of years now. So Galway want to put them back, want to put where their money is at, I suppose, really. You know, I think Mayo need a watch, you know, because since there's no home game for Mayo, you know, with Castlebar being redeveloped as such. So I think Galway could be in the long grass waiting for Mayo in this game.
Yeah, Ryan, what's your opinions on Mayo? They seem to split a lot of opinion at times, even so much this year. Like a lot of people saying, well, some people saying they had a good league campaign, you know, they had a lot of injuries and all the rest, and other people saying, you know what, they had a very poor league campaign. They weren't really impressive in a lot of the games that they won. And then obviously you've seen them in that league final. So I suppose, where do you stand on that sort of argument?
See, people's freshest memory is always the last thing that happens. Mayo did have a very good league campaign, but did a very, very bad final. But like Luke said, Mayo were looking at the Galway match. That I don't think they really cared about Kerry that day, to be honest. But I think the whole idea of leaving Aidan O'Shea on the bench, I think that is what they should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
But my massive concern from a Mayo perspective is the injuries they have at the minute. Killian O'Connor, Conroy.
I think Robbie Henley's still out for this one as well.
Yeah. So that, and we know how big the keeper position is in Gaelic football. Like, you can't be messing about with that. So, yeah, I can't wait for this game on Sunday, in all honesty. And I suppose the real winner of this game is probably Roscommon, because they'll probably be sitting thinking, hope these boys like hammer into each other and maybe get suspended and stuff.
Yeah, I can imagine they'll be hoping for a few handbags, maybe a full time or in extra time or something like that, maybe for it to go the distance. Like what you were saying there, Ryan. I mean, like, I'd agree with you there. Like, in regards to Mayo, I think, you know, for me, like, considering the injuries that they did have, obviously Tommy Conroy as well, and some of the young lads they've brought in, like, they've brought through a lot of under 20 players this year, and yet they've still managed to get to a league final, in my opinion, is quite impressive. Like, but in terms of Mayo in general, though, like, Luke, I mean, where do you think they rank in terms of the overall All-Ireland big picture? I mean, you know, if they were to get past Galway, could they compete with, you know, the likes of your Kerrys, your Dublin? No, I mean, not Dublin. What do you reckon?
In my opinion, I think Mayo becomes second behind Kerry. I think Kerry are just taking Ireland by storm now. So they just want to wrap everything up. They want to win Munster. They want to win All Ireland. Such they want to be big aspirations there for Kerry now. They've got the league wrapped up, but I do see Mayo number 2. I see Mayo, you know, below Kerry. They're at number 2 spot. You know, they have a top manager, James Horan. We all know what James Horan can do. Mayo are just a dogged team. And, you know, they never say no. And even in the dying embers of that Kerry game, they were still fighting. But, you know, I think if they can get by Galway, they'll be definitely looking for the Connacht, like, and then they're in the quarter final. Then I don't know who they play in the quarter final. So
that'd be semi-final. Winner of Ulster.
Oh, semi-final.
Yeah.
The winner of Ulster.
Yeah.
Yeah, they fancy that as well, you know, because Mayo are a very spirited team, and you know they are a strong championship team at that too. So, they probably could compete with Kerry in a championship game, you know, when all bets are off. Like, so,
kind of weird because my collection is Kerry always beat Mayo, but Mayo always beat Dublin. It's weird, like it's always that sequence of events, because I remember 04 and 06 Mayo come into the All-Ireland finals thinking they were going to win it, and Kerry just wiped the floor.
That's right.
And then Dublin, when they play Mayo, they think they're going to beat Mayo, and Mayo beat them. It's really weird between them three venues. And Dublin always beat Kerry.
Yeah, well, I suppose Mayo beat Dublin last year, but I suppose if you look at every other year from 2012, I mean, Dublin beat Mayo. But I suppose looking at recent events, maybe looking at this year and last year, I suppose Mayo unfortunately have Dublin's number, but I think a lot of counties have have got Dublin's number right now, unfortunately. So what are we reckoning here? I mean, like, interesting enough, Galway do have the best attack statistically across all 4 divisions. Mayo have certainly had a few defensive vulnerabilities. I mean, like coming to you, Luke. I mean, how could Mayo stop the influence of Shane Walsh, Paul Conroy in this game, especially when they do have the likes of Robbie Henley and potentially Oisin Mullen out injured as well? I mean, it's going to be hard to see how they stop them lads.
Yeah, 100%. You know, with them injuries with Oisin Mullen is probably one of the key players for Mayo, going forward as well, and just, you know, holding the ship. Like, you know, where do you start really? Shane Walsh is a very nippy player, and probably I would say Pádraig Ó Tuama will have to mark him. Pádraig Ó Tuama is probably one of the best man markers in Ireland, like, but we all seen what David Clifford done to him in the league final, like, he just put him, you know, just put him in his place, like. But again, David Clifford's just different gravy, like, and, you know, Shane Walsh is just maybe a tad lower than David Clifford, but look, if Mayo can keep their discipline, keep their defence right, then the forwards do the talk. Ryan Donoghue was unreal in the league campaign this year, and we all know what he can do now. And, you know, even if Shea has to take a seat on the bench, I'm sorry, but he does. You know, having Aidan O'Shea in the centre half back position, like, what's that all about? Like, you know what I mean? He has to be the big man now and has to take a seat on the bench. He can't start him because, I don't know, just when it comes to a big game like this here, he sort of crumbled, doesn't he?
He's hopeless. Like, he is hopeless. I remember last year he missed a 13-metre mark against Dublin.
That's right.
Yeah.
He's hopeless.
Yeah, you'd start to wonder, does he have something on James Horan or something, and that's why James Horan needs to keep fitting him into the team or something. I don't really know, but yeah, I'd agree with you lads as well. I think surely at this stage, I think when you see as well when he comes off the bench, he tends to make a little bit of an impact, and he has a bit of a presence in there as well. And obviously depending on what way the game is going, but I suppose we'll have to wait and see there. Dylan Duffy says here, I'm going for Galway. I think they're very strong and they normally get close with Mayo, so I think Galway will just barely edge it out. And GA lad says Galway will do well, but Mayo should still win after seeing the Division 2 league final. I think Mayo can still beat Galway. So what are you lads saying then? What are you going for here, Mayo, or could the tribesmen pull off a bit of a surprise? Their first championship win over Mayo since 2018 is what it would be.
I think Galway will want to do well. They want to do well in this match, obviously, but I think Mayo will definitely have the upper hand on them. I think in this match, Mayo's just a very strong competitive championship team. Like, we all know that. We all know what they can do in the championship. Like, and they want to keep they want to stay on their Connacht perch as such. They want to keep winning Connacht as much as they can. Like, so I go for a Mayo win here.
What about yourself, Ron?
Always sure. I'm thinking of myself. Should I wear it on Sunday? No, I'd like to see Galway win, but I think Mayo, Mayo are a different animal when it comes to championship, like, and I wouldn't bet against them on Sunday, so I'd go for Mayo as well.
Yeah, I think full house there. I think I'd back Mayo at this moment in time as well. I suppose we'll move on to the Leinster Championship. I suppose the most riveting competition in the Gaelic games at the minute. Louth and Carlow, I suppose, first of all. Mickey Hart's Army going up against Carlow. What do we think here, lads?
Yeah, look, Louth are probably one of the most underrated teams in Leinster, I think anyway. You know, but Louth absolutely unreal, getting back-to-back promotions with Mickey Hart going up to Division 2, and they'll fancy staying up in Division 2, I think, next year, but we'll come to that next year when that comes about. But look, they have they probably have one of the best forwards in Leinster at this
And
present in time, Sam Mulroy. You know, what was he scoring in the league campaign? Was it 350 something in the league campaign?
359, I think it was, yeah.
359. It's just absolutely ridiculous turnover of scores. Like, you know, he's a big physical lad. We were actually at the game, as Ryan alluded to earlier on. He's just, his presence in the half forward line is just.
And it's interesting that he said on the GAA social podcast that he expects Louth to win the Leinster inside the next 3 to 4 years.
I wouldn't go against that. You know, considering what Mickey Hart's doing down there is just unbelievable. If Mickey Hart can keep them in Division 2 and challenge for a Leinster Championship, he's one of the greatest of all time. Yeah. He has to go down in history like as one of the best managers ever, I think. And I think Louth could be too strong for Carlow in this game, 100%.
But you're just talking Louth and Carlow there. I think everybody wants to see Louth win that because it would set a match up with Kildare, and I think Louth and Kildare would be a very, very good match.
Yep.
Yeah, it would be all right, and I think as well. I think I think that one might be in a neutral venue, but yeah, I think Louth going up against Kildare will be very, very fascinating. And I suppose, as you lads were saying there in regards to Sam Mulroy, I mean, you could argue the case that, well, based on form this year, he is the best forward in Leinster at the minute. If you're looking at form, I know obviously Louth playing at a lower division than Dublin, so I know it's hard to compare, but it is an interesting one with Louth and Mickey Hart. Like, do you think maybe they could go on a bit of a run through Leinster this year? I mean, obviously they're not going to be in the Tailteann Cup, so if they get beat in, let's say, by Kildare, or even in this game, they'll go into the qualifiers. But like, what do you reckon? Could they cause a surprise or two this year? Because when you look at it, really, like, I do think Dublin will get their act together next year and in the next couple of years, but I think this year they're very much on the slide and arguably there for the taking. And you know, Meath are a little bit all over the place. Kildare have improved, but then again, haven't won a game outside Newbridge in God knows how long. So I mean, what do you reckon?
I think they have a great chance because I think they'll definitely beat Carlow, and then we know what Kildare like. Kildare play bums out football. Like they don't play any sweepers. And I suppose Aaron, I seen your video whenever Dublin lost to Kildare. I forget the keeper's name, but I know he was taking the piss that day.
Yeah,
he kept coming out with goal. I forget his name, but Kildare just do not play. They just play carefree football. Like, they'll not play sweepers or nothing against Louth. No. Whereas Mickey's more of a tactician. Like, and I'd love to see Louth and Kildare. Yeah. Just how fascinating that would be. Just like you said, and I'd give them every chance of beating Kildare, to be honest.
You know, it's a good thing for Leicester football too. You see these new teams coming forward, such as Louth and Kildare, and such. You know, it's a good thing.
Even Offaly, I know they got relegated, but
it's nice to see them teams coming through and, you know, maybe taking Dublin to the post. Like, and I mean, look, Louth, if Louth can get a bit of momentum through, if they get by Carlow and, you know, give Kildare a bit of run for the money, I think, you know, watch out for Louth, because Louth are definitely a team on the rise. I think definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose we're all back in Louth then, obviously, to get through Carlow. I mean, Carlow, I think, have conceded the most, I think, across all 4 divisions other than Cork. So, and obviously playing in Division 4. So, I mean, they've been fairly woeful this year, let's be honest. So, I suppose we're all back in Louth.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Looking at Wexford and Offaly, then the winner of this playing Dublin. I suppose Wexford, like, I've been disappointed enough with them this year. I thought they'd have a better year in Division 4, and Offaly finishing on a bit of a, I suppose, well, obviously a bit of a low, losing to Cork, but at the same time they've done very well in Division 2. They were very competitive, and you know, on another day maybe they might have stayed up and beaten a Cork. So what's your thinking coming into this? Luke, will come to you first.
I think with, you know, you say the winner is Let's Play Dublin, yeah? Yeah, so I think the history of the Leinster, I think Wexford want to get by this, you know, with the, you know, in spite of playing Dublin, I think, you know, you think the likes of whenever Wexford used to play Dublin years ago in the Leinster Championship, it was very intriguing.
They're a million miles away from that. But...
Oh, I know that. You know, they have been definitely on the decline since then. And Um, I don't know. I think Offaly, as you said there, Offaly have been very competitive in Division 2. Because certainly they'd go down with a fight and some good footballers in Offaly as well.
He's been far the best player. All this talk about the youngsters and under 20s last year, but he's still the best player in that team. I don't care.
Yeah, he is. He's
them under 20s have hardly stepped up at all. So
yeah, I mean, like the likes of Jack Bryans, Cormac Egan, like they haven't really been too involved this year. With the senior team, they've had a couple of appearances off the bench here and there, but it does seem to be the old veterans like the Noel McNamees, the Rory McNamees, Anton Sullivan as well, like Bernard Allen. It seems to be the usual kind of players there under John Mon, who seems to be, getting awfully through or obviously getting awfully through some good performances this year. So, I mean, going away to Wexford, could that be maybe a bit of an issue for Offaly? Obviously, going to Chadwick's Park. I mean, Wexford at home. I'm just thinking back to when they played Dublin last year, and they made, I think it was only a 7 point game in the end. But then again, this year in the league, they haven't been great. So I don't know. I suppose we'll get some predictions on this one, really, because I think really if we keep going on about this one, we'll bore everyone, really. So what do we reckon here? What's our predictions for this one?
See, I don't really know, to be honest. It could go either way. I think Wexford will want to fancy themselves at home. Offaly want to fancy themselves because of their quality. I think I'll go for. I'm going to just say Wexford. I think Wexford will beat them since they have the home
advantage. That's an interesting take. All right, yeah. You're going for Offaly, yeah.
They had a higher standard of football this year, Aaron. That's my rating.
Yeah, no, I'd have to agree as well. I think like when you look at Wexford this year, I mean, I think they get beat by London, maybe they beat London, but they've had a lot of very inconsistent results throughout the entirety of Division 4. They were never really in the promotion mix. I think they finished 5th in Division 4, so it probably would be a bit of a surprise if they did take out Offaly. But then again, we've seen plenty of surprises throughout the championship in the years. Wicklow and Laois, I suppose, what a game to finish up on here in the mighty Ockram Park. I mean, Wicklow, Laois, 2 Division 4 teams, maybe 2 teams you'd be familiar with from playing down the years. Obviously with Antrim, maybe not so much Laois, but what would be yours thinking going into this one?
I think Wicklow will win that game. I think Laois are in free fall, and I just find it hilarious that Colin Parkinson said that about Laois doesn't what did he say about them being in the Tilton Cup? I can't remember, but he said he didn't want them to get promoted. I think he didn't want them because he wanted them playing the Tilton Cup or something. I can't remember, but that backfired big time. Laois wouldn't be my favourite county in Ireland. Like.
Yeah. You've got go ahead there, yeah. No, work away there, yeah.
Sorry, I mean, Ockram is definitely one of the fortresses in Ireland. Like, there's no doubt about it. And Wicklow fancy their chances. They've had some brilliant victories up there. Down there. Over the recent years. Laois are in free fall, as Ryan said there. There's nothing really positive coming out of Laois at the minute. They're relegated Division 4 now. Years ago, if you said Laois were in Division 4, you would have laughed at their heads, like, but stranger things have happened, I suppose, and I think Wicklow will fancy themselves, in this particular affair.
What happens is they put nothing in the underage, and I always say to you, it's not now or the next couple of years you'll suffer. It's 5-10 years.
Yeah.
Like even Ross Monley's still playing for them. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's mental, all right. And obviously they were probably very reliant on the Kingstons there for a while, and you've seen as soon as they've obviously stepped away or opted out or retired or whatever, like, they definitely probably haven't had the same underage structure or players maybe coming through. Like, yeah, I'd probably go with yourselves as well. I'd probably fancy Wicklow to win this one as well. I just think at home in Ockram with all the negativity maybe around Laois football at the minute. I'd agree with yourselves there for Wicklow to overturn Laois. Well, I suppose before we finish up, then, lads, the Saffron Voice, the podcast, you're obviously what you do there. So, where can people find that if they're looking for it?
I think it's just the Saffron Voice on Instagram, and then
The Saffron Voice on Spotify. And we had a bit of an issue there with that with podcast. We're trying to get it back up there again. So you can find us on Spotify, Twitter as well, the Saffron Voice, and Instagram as well. We're actually running the giveaway now. If you want to enter that there, you can win yourself an Upton jersey. if you want one, if you want to enter, you certainly can do for a bit of support now for Saturday.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, I suppose you need all the support you can get anyway going up against the mighty Cavan. So appreciate you lads jumping on.
Thanks very much, Soren. It's an honour.